Welcome, guys. On today's episode of 100 Things, we're looking at Patrick Kelly, Todd, Reynolds, Hudson, Wincott, Ling, Lee. Yeah, we're looking at the Crow.
Hi everybody, and welcome to 100 Things I Learned from Movies. My name is Mark Plant. I'm one of your hosts, and this gentleman here is...
Hi guys, I'm John Watson, first time caller, long time listener, avid movie fan, VHS, all that sort of thing. So, and I'll be the co-pilot this evening. So,
This podcast, 100 Things I Learned from Movies, the title will vary every episode depending on the movie that we're talking about, really is an opportunity to, some people would say deep dive, probably just about skim the surface, knowing you and I, and cover a little bit of information on it. But more specifically, try and learn something from film. A lot of podcasts out there talk about film, and that's great, but I always like to learn something, even if it is very, very pointless. So the whole format of this, for you listener, is that each of us will watch the movie separately. We will make a list of things that we've learned up to a maximum of 70, and we will then discuss them. When one of us makes a point, we run through our list, make sure we haven't got that as a double. If it's a double, it only counts for one. And by the end of the show, then the point is that we will have, hopefully,
100 things.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. 100 things that we've learned from this movie. But I guess first of all, before we talk about the film that you've bought for us, John, let's talk about what our history with cinema is, really. So, John, do you want to go ahead and tell us what your history with film, cinema, movies is?
Yeah. So, childhood of the 70s, brought up early 80s, video recorders became a thing, and Gran used to sit me down and watch zombie movies and horror movies, Hammer Horror. So straight into the dark stuff. VHS was the king. Used to go down to the video van, watched everything from Zoltan, Devil Dog to Beastmaster.
The video van?
There was a video van.
Video van?
Hardcore, yeah, video van.
Were you in jail? Did you grow up in prison?
Well, Pollock was pretty much prison. Yeah. So, the video van would come along with that rented VHS from DER. That's an oldie but a goldie. And, we watched videos pretty much every weekend until someone broke into our house and stole the video. So,
that's Pollock for you.
Yeah. But luckily by that point, we had Channel 4. So Channel 4 took over. And I just watched all the movies from there.
Yeah, I hope you didn't watch the Blue Triangle.
I was trying not to say anything about that, but
as a reference for the kids, for those that don't know, and those that are potentially overseas, the Blue Triangle was the kind of post 11 o'clock at night. Yeah, like Rudy's got it. Filth.
The band season. There's a lot of band seasons on there. But that was pretty much me. But to be honest with you, Plant, I was more of a horror buff when I first started, but I just opened up to all the genres. I'm not really locked down to a specific type of film. So
cool. Well, I mean, I love the idea of the video van, and I can't wait to hear more about that as well.
There's a real van.
Continue on with this. We used to have a van that came round our coal mining village. That was a chippy van, which explains quite why I'm such a fat guy. It was thanks. It was it was called the Jolly Friar, which, if you consider that it was Nottinghamshire that I grew up in, there's a kind of a link there. Every Thursday night, fish chips. My gran, funnily enough, fish chips with my gran, while my mum would go and play darts and dominoes at the local club. And me and my gran would watch Question of Sport. There you go.
Well, that's one coincidence. Thursday was our chippy day purely because my dad got paid on a Thursday. So every time he brought home his brown wage packet, the first thing he would do is go to the chippy and buy his old chips. So chippy day on a Thursday. Happy days.
So welcome back to Boomercast. That's what it sounds like. There's going to be people listening to this going, "What the hell are they talking about?
Were they in the war?"
I know, yeah. Rationing. How much butter did you get, Grandad? Yeah. Anyway, so my history with film is not dissimilar, actually. My first real memory of watching a video was my 5th birthday. We lived around the corner from my Auntie Carol and Uncle Harold, who, of course, were not my auntie and uncle. They were my mum and dad's mates.
Good friends.
Harold Smith, who worked down the pit with my dad. And when my mum would go to work on a night, at which point my parents had split up and got divorced, mum would go to work on a night at Thornton's chocolate factory. And I would... yeah, she had the golden ticket. And I would go and sit there. Anyway, for my 5th birthday, they rented on their video, on their VHS, Ghostbusters for me. My 5th birthday. It really isn't a film for a 5-year-old.
It certainly is not. Nope.
Last week's Ghostbusters, but yeah. And kind of from there on in, I seem to remember watching all the stuff that their kids, who were much older than me, watched. So I remember watching American Werewolf in London. Again, I'd maybe been about 5 or 6.
Not for children?
Not children at all. Great movie, though. Yeah. And Michael Jackson's Thriller, very much not for children. Let's be honest. Yeah, for a number of reasons. Anyway, by the by. And then I grew up with my mum, and when we moved in with my stepdad, when she met my stepdad, he had a video player. I'd have been about 9. And she would take me to the video shop to rent pretty much anything I wanted, including Beetlejuice, which I think I would have seen at 9, RoboCop, which I would have seen at maybe 9 or 10.
Jesus.
RoboCop at the time was the big stand-up cardboard cutout of RoboCop in front of the car. And they had so many copies of it in the video, 2001 video in Bradford, when we moved to Bradford by the time. There's so many copies of it. It was like a full wall, like... Can you imagine all in your house just of RoboCop video? And I must have rented that a number of times. Absolutely loved that, and so on. And renting videos is really a key bit of what kind of was such an important part of my life.
Too.
And then I went and studied film at college. Any overseas listeners? I mean college, not university. And I studied film at a place that has since been demolished and is now a Morrison's, which tells you everything you need to know
about film.
About my schooling, doesn't it? Eh? So, yeah. So that's kind of my relationship with film, with cinema. I've always loved the cinema. I've always loved films. Bit of an escapist. I was an only child till I was 7, so that kind of thing. I'm a wonderful sister, but she's always lived away. So it was always kind of sit Mark down in front of the TV and just eat. And I'm all for that. That's great parenting as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they better be an iPad, but yeah,
absolutely. That's what we do with the cat. So we may as well continue. Great. Well, look, so that's kind of us, and that's what we're about. I guess we should get to the film. Do you want to tell us what film you've picked for us?
Classic Crow. Purely for the fact the only reason that it stands out is every film I've watched after it, whether it be Matrix, whether it be Underworld, it's always reminds me of The Crow because it was such a cutting edge film. It had a lot of gothic stuff going on in it. It had Brandon Lee, obviously, and it spoke to me at that time because I was around about 19, 20 when it first came out, and I was in between, believe it or not, my rave phase and my rocker phase. So it swayed me. It swayed me to the dark side. That and the fact is, I just love the music, and it's got one of the best soundtracks I've heard for years. So yeah, that's why I picked that one out.
Great. Well, I'd have been 14 when this came out, as we were discussing off the air. And to be honest, I seem to think I didn't rent this until maybe 96, 97. So it may be one of those that did it hit us late? Did it come over to the UK a year later, maybe, or months?
No, I think it was very underground. I think what happened was films before that Brandon Lee was bringing out were things like Showdown in Little Tokyo and stuff like that. So I think when it came out and he was associated, I think a lot of people just thought it was going to be a kung fu movie, no realising behind it. So luckily I was on the bandwagon straight away, seen it for what it was, loved it. But yeah, I think even if I remember right, even the writer of the comic was sort of not wanting Brandon Lee to be associated because he was worried that the people would just think it was going to be another kung fu movie.
Chop socky kind of
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but luckily, once he met Brandon Lee, the style that he was going to use in the film was totally different from anything he'd done before. So, but I genuinely think a lot of people didn't see it because they thought Brandon Lee would just make it a karate movie. So only people that really like karate and stuff like that and that was a very niche thing at that point, because bear in mind, Karate Kid and all that had already done its thing, so it was on its way out.
Yeah, okay. So 94. I mean, look, I'm gonna have to be absolutely straight with you and the listeners here. You love this movie. I seem to remember renting it, and it was maybe at the period where I kind of started having a few beers, drinking, that kind of thing, while watching movies, or having a night out at the age of 15, 16, when the local pub that would serve us, and coming back and watching it. And I think I maybe tried to watch it twice, fell asleep both times. Not necessarily at the time anything to do with the movie, more so to do with the fact that I was inebriated.
Yeah.
But watching it all the way through for the very, very first time this week, I'm going to have to level with you, mate. I think it's absolute garbage.
See,
I hated almost everything.
it's proper dated now, but I think back then, bear in mind, it was the first time CGI had been used for any sort of change or any sort of modifications to the screen. So it's the first time CGI had been used, especially obviously when he died into a few scenes he wasn't in. So, but at the time, as I say, it was extraordinary. But yeah, watching it back, I remember thinking, "Oh, this is dated." Especially the rooftop scenes. I was quite, that's So I get where you're coming from.
We'll come to it, but those are probably the bits I like the most. It's really weird. I know, and I'm not being contrarian, although I probably am. As listeners will discover as we go on. But to my mind, it's remembered for one thing, isn't it? It's remembered for the death of Brandon Lee, who was, of course, the son of the great Bruce Lee. The exceptional Bruce Lee, who was, a great martial artist and not a bad actor, contrary to how they made him look in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I mean, that borderline racist. We watched that again recently, and it holds up to a second watch. But that particular scene is
proper. Yeah,
it really is a matter of, look at this. Look at our main character giving it to Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Okay, look, we all love Brad Pitt, I know, but
that was never going to happen.
No, absolutely. That was, I believed, I believed a lot more of the stuff in there, including the flamethrower at the very, very end, more than I believed that particular bit. But yeah, so the death of Brandon Lee, because I don't want to, I kind of don't want to make it. This is a light-hearted show, but I don't want to make it, light-hearted and let's laugh at the death of an actor because it was a terrible accident. It was, I believe, a gun that was supposed to have blanks in it, which there was one in the chamber.
One in the chamber, yeah. So I think it totally it changed. I think it was it changed a lot of the gun laws when it came to filming scenes like that as well. So,
Is that something you learned from the film?
So as much as it happened and it was a tragedy, I think it was the catalyst for a lot of the laws to be changed when it came to handling the guns. So I think it had to go through a totally separate process. I think when it came to that, there had to be a specialist. It had to be handed off to a specialist who would check it, even fire it, and then obviously check it again. So I think everything changed as soon as that happened.
Great. Can you tick that off your list, please? If you have that on your list. I also had that on my list. I had always check its blanks in a gun, which I want to make it light-hearted, but it's obviously very, very sad. So 99 to go. Right. So the film itself, I've made a little note of the description. It's not my description. I've taken it from IMDb. I don't know about you, but I've got a love-hate relationship with IMDb. But it opens by pointing out to us, I think there's a kind of a little crawl, isn't there? Like a little chat crawl. By the way, we watch everything with subtitles on. I watch this with my wife, Rachel. We watch everything with subtitles on. She's hard of hearing, which is probably the only reason she's been able to marry me.
True that.
And it just makes things easier for her. But actually, I've found it helps me if I wanted to pick anything up.
Yep.
But it starts with the crawl, the child's voice. People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it and the soul can't rest. Then sometimes, just sometimes, the crow can bring the soul back and put wrong things right. So that was quite interesting. And the first thing I learned from that was that, that I believe it was Norse religion or Norse kind of mythology that said that the crow will do so. And I think Norse mythology generally had that kind of a lot of crow-related stuff.
Is that a factoid? Is that another factoid?
It is another fact. Yeah, it's another thing I learned. Well, whether these things are facts or not, it's something I learned. Did you have that one, John?
No. I was actually, no, I didn't have that one.
All right. Okay. So it opens with this kind of on the back of the bird, on the back of
the sweeping camera.
Yeah,
I must admit, I did like that opening for two reasons. One is because they used miniatures and they were quite good, but two, when it actually does zoom in and pan in, the first thing I thought was Ghostbusters.
Oh right, yeah.
Because as soon as it swooped in, I was looking at it. I'm going, I know that's Winston for Ghostbusters, and it was the first thing I'd actually seen Ernie Hudson and anything else. So it was just such a surprise to see the fourth Ghostbuster.
What else have we seen Ernie Hudson in? He's in nothing.
I don't think it is.
He's in nothing, and that's a real shame because I think he's a lot of fun in this.
I liked it. I think he was a good character in it. When I first saw him, I thought, "Oh, here we go." But no, it was good to see Ernie doing something that wasn't ghost related.
Yeah, no, well, it is ghost related though, isn't it?
Again, it is, but he's in flesh and bones.
I ain't afraid of no crows. Yeah, that kind of works. I thought exactly the same as you, and the more I watched it, the more I've decided it's taught me one thing. Models are miles better than CGI.
Yeah.
It should be CGI. Models are miles better.
A lot more. Yeah. See, when I first originally seen the film as well, and I was quite taken with the first half of the film because it's like that. It's quite dark all the way through the sort of first sections of the film. But then when I read about the director's work, he originally wanted it to be black and white. He wanted to shoot it all in black and white, but I think obviously they had some concerns regarding it. So I think what they did with it was fine, but if it was black and white all the way through, I don't think a lot of things would work. But
yeah, I know what you mean, and I think what they did instead was the bits, because the bits that were meant to be happening in the past, the kind of the flashbacks to that night, were meant to be colour, but in the end, I think they just saturated it. So they had all the other scenes were really dark, and that was particularly saturated.
Mm-hmm. Had a lot of reds. A lot of reds through the flashback scenes as well.
Yeah, there is. By the way, I class my 0.3 as excellent model work. Models beat CGI. So, and already I know people are going, oh, come on, you can't just have opinion. Well, I might have a bit of opinion here, I'm afraid. So the opening on this one is that it's October the 30th, which is Devil's Night.
Yes, so that was the first thing I thought that was a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. I just thought Halloween, done, and that's it.
Yeah, in England, certainly the north of England, I know it as Mischief Night.
Really? Well,
yeah, Mischief Night. Basically, it means little scroats can run around smashing windies and putting bananas up. Exhaust pipes.
That was Pollock every day of the week.
Mischief month. Yeah. So I learned that it's also called Devil's Night.
So you can have that as a factoid then? That's something you can.
That's number 4. That's number 4 we've got. I initially thought it was set during Purge Night, but then I realised...
But you didn't hear the...
Exactly. Okay, so there's a scene of a crime, and Shelley, the character Shelley Webster, who's played by Sophia Sheenus, who I didn't recognise from anything.
Yeah, she's not been in much at all, to be honest.
She's been beaten. She's been sexually assaulted, raped.
Yep.
And Eric Draven, who is her fiance, has been stabbed, shot, and thrown out of a window. Yeah. I mean, Rasputin's got nothing on this guy.
Yeah, he really did. He really did have a bad night.
This guy would have trumped anybody upsetting the royal family in Russia. You know.
Well, that's it. So when the opening scene when it does cut in and it shows you the flashbacks in which we talk about, it never actually shows you the main character. It doesn't actually show you Brandon Lee at all. So it literally could be anybody. And that opening scene, yeah. So I think it's a POV point of view, just to show someone walking in, someone throwing in a knife at them, then them getting shot, and then getting thrown out the window. But I don't think you actually get to see the character at all.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realise that. So you only see him kind of a year later.
The next time you see him, is that scene where he's crawling out. Yeah. So if you look, to be honest, I didn't actually realise that until I watched.
Right.
It. I didn't realise you actually didn't see his face. So is that another fact? Is that another fact?
We can have that, yeah, if you want. That's we're on 5. I'm going to stop making count, but that's where we are now. I'm writing them down, and I'll make a point and get there. To be honest, I struggle to see a lot of stuff because although we were watching it on the TV in the lounge, the DVD that we got from CEX, because it's not currently streaming unless you want to pay £5 for it, and
you wouldn't.
I did not. We bought it from CEX for £2, and I think for the more of these that we do, I will try and buy all of the films just for posterity more than anything else.
Yeah.
So we watched it in 4:3. So really, I should have gone and bought myself I should have gone to the tip and picked up an old boxy CRT telly. So we're watching that. But I did notice that Shelley, she's still alive at that point. They bundle her into Ecto-1. I think it's Ecto-1 anyway, or one of those.
It looks like Ecto-1. Yeah,
it does. Yeah. So they fire into that, and it's really grim because the cop says there's another cop, and he says, "Who gets married on Halloween?" Something about they were getting married tomorrow.
Yeah.
Halloween.
The night was Halloween. Who gets married on Halloween?
And Ernie Hudson says not them or something. It's like, ooh.
That's dark.
brutal. You know?
Yeah, it really was.
You know, that really sets it up. You know, and it kind of like, all right, okay, this episode of Police Squad's really grim.
Well, that's when I saw that, especially when I saw that, but especially when they were in the apartment and they were talking, I thought the rest of the police were in a bit of quite derogatory. So the worry was that Ernie Hudson character was going to be just like another bad cop, but it wasn't until they actually got down to the ambulance that he lied. If I remember right, he lied to Hart and he lied to the young girl Sarah in it. And at that point, you realise that, hang on a second, this guy's actually trying to protect them and try to be a good cop. So,
sure.
At that point, that's when I knew that he was going to be sort of the I was going to say hero, but he was going to be the ally in it.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting. Is that a fact?
Well, yeah, because at the end of the day, because the character of Devlin was pretty much straight away. Because as soon as he left as soon as he had the conversation with the high-ranking officer, that monologue was him basically just telling him that he's now a beat cop because he stuck his nose in somewhere. So when he walked away from that situation, as soon as he met the Shelley character, spoke to her, tried to reassure her, and then when the young girl came, so pretty much straight away he was lying to protect both their feelings. So I thought that was a sort of a nice touch.
Oh yeah. You kind of go into the apartment. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself there. You don't go to the apartment. And then you meet Sarah. You said she was called, didn't you, Sarah?
Yeah, Sarah. So it's a little sort of thing. It's just like a young kid that hangs about. Because I don't know, it doesn't really go into any detail, but I think she is maybe a fan of either Brandon Lee's music, because she's got a couple of records, because he's the lead singer of that fictional band is A Hangman's Joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I think later on in the film she is listening to one of his records, so it could well be that she's a real like a fan that hangs about with them, or they've just sort of taken her in. It doesn't actually go into detail to say why.
Yeah, she says something like, I'm friends, I hang out there, and you kind of go,
Yeah.
Okay, hanging out with a child. But
Yeah,
then later on you find out that her mum's not a very...
yeah, she's not a bit darla.
Yeah, that's right. And then it... And then it flashes forward a year, doesn't it?
Yeah, so straight away, it's strange because when all the flashes happen, all the narration's done by that young girl we were talking about, that Sarah. Rochelle Davies. Sorry, I've got her name right there. So that young girl does all the narration. At first, when I first watched the movie, I didn't rate it because it was a kid. I thought Brandon Lee would have done a lot better job. But watching it, it actually made sense because she's quite a softly spoken character anyway, and it seems that every time the main characters were talking, especially at the beginning, they're always shouting or dying or the other, so it was quite a contrast to having like a young sort of soothing voice talking over the narration as opposed to have sort of Brandon Lee just shouting at the camera all the time. So yeah. I like that touch. That was quite good.
And then the crow again, the back of that bloody puppet, flying, and it lands on his grave, taps away at the grave, which is quite blatantly polystyrene.
Yeah, you can see bits of it flicking off.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And then that wakes him up, and he comes out of the thing and out the mud, screaming and shouting. And all I could think was that bit out of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective 2. Where he's coming out of the rhino's
yeah.
like kind of being birthed by the... Oh, not obviously not arse. He's being birthed by the rhino, isn't he? Yeah, and that ruined it for me. That, like I was just getting into it, and then I thought, I can't.
You can't do it. See, the thing that I liked about it is that scene, obviously, with him coming to the grave. I thought it was just... it wasn't the best, but what I did like was I don't know if you remember before he came out, the young girl, the Sarah character. Remember that from years ago? When she was going through the grave, she was actually picking up single flowers from each of the graves, which I thought was really either really respectful or disrespectful, because she could have just grabbed them all, whereas she was just grabbing individual ones so she could make up a bunch for Eric and Shelley. So I thought it's quite
basically stealing flowers.
She was
from
stealing
the dead.
flowers, but she was stealing individual flowers, so it was just one from each grave. So even though they had
Yeah.
lots of flowers, she would only take one from each grave. And
She could have had loads. She could have had loads. She could have had all the bouquets. Dad,
granddad,
like a wreath,
exactly.
and like one with a teddy bear.
She could have went to town, but she didn't. She was quite respectful of the dead.
Well, that's the only time anyone's respectful of the dead in this movie. So he goes back to the apartment, and it's like all first person. It's like that bit in that Doom movie with Carl Urban. Again, I'm like, wow, because I quite remember liking that particular bit of that film.
That was a good. I did like that. That was brilliant.
And I felt motion sick after it. So he gets back to the apartment and it's burnt out or whatever. Obviously, a year later, no one's done anything with it.
See, that bit annoyed me because, bear in mind, it's a year later, it's run down, no one's done anything with it, but the tape is still on the door as if no one's been in it. So it's been lying there a year. Why is it no one's got into it and smashed it all up or something? Because bear in mind, all the windows are still there, everything's all still in the apartment. So that a bit annoyed me.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Even the bloody skeleton that they had in the front of the door, they're still there. I'm thinking, you know what, this isn't right. That's not real. That's not going to happen.
Well, it was Halloween after all. So he remembers what happened. He remembers the attackers, and then he paints his face. Which, I mean, the point I made was that was the proto why so serious Joker shit Halloween costume that everybody does now. I remember when people used to go around kind of, oh, I'm the crow. Yeah, all right, mate, whatever.
And there's literally just a white lipstick on and just a couple of bits of ink down the eyes.
That's right, yeah. Which I thought was quite interesting.
The music for that, though, I must admit, the music for that, I think it was The Cure did the music for that segment. That bit, I've really enjoyed that bit because that song "Burn" was at the time was a really good choice for that section. So I really enjoyed that. But yeah, I think the makeup as well. They didn't get the makeup department to do it because I think when they did it, I don't know if it's one of these myths like the Heath Ledger thing. He did his own makeup for the Dark Knight's Joker, but apparently the director wasn't happy with it, and Brandon himself did it. But I'm not too sure. It just seems like the urban myth that goes with everybody that wears makeup, to be honest.
But it's maybe not true. Yeah,
maybe.
This gang or something. I thought they were like either a bunch of WWF rejects,
with the names,
or it was Hans Gruber's gang from Die Hard. There's the blonde guy, there's the black guy, there's the geeky guy. So it was that's all I could think of.
Yeah, the names are unbelievable. Tintin and Fun Boy and T-Bird, Skank. There's it's just the names are terrible.
Yes, they are. Like really kind of. This is like the pro. Like this is pre-dirtbag kind of scumbags in films, isn't it? This is. Like
This is well before they done it. And I think that was why everyone was sort of. Why it set a lot of trends as well, because there was a lot going on, but I think the people that they used for the gang, especially the T-Bird character, David Patrick Kelly, who I remember from the Warriors, because the clinking of those bottles just will always haunt me, I think.
I made this point to Rachel. I said, you know him, and because usually she's really good at saying who somebody is from something. I says, you know him, but you won't remember it because you hate it. Rachel hated the Warriors. We turned it off. She hated it. It's one of my favourite films.
And you still married her?
We're married. I don't think it's grounds for divorce, if I'm honest. But he's Warriors. Come on. Yeah,
with those bottles and that. That's. But seeing him in this, it was the voice. As soon as I think there was a scene where they were doing they were setting a bomb in the arcade. And I remember as soon as he opened his mouth, and as soon as he started talking, I'm thinking, that's taking me back to New York, 1979. That's
Mate, I thought this looked very kind of dirty Detroit, very much like RoboCop. But you know who else he is, and it's you know what else he was in. What his other kind of he's in Twin Peaks, but that's not the main thing that Rachel knew him from. He's Sully in Commando. Hey, Sully, remember I said I'd
oh my God.
That's what you said. Yeah, you said that. I lied. Yeah, he's Sully.
That's him, Sully?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
But he's got that really, there's the bit where he's following, I forget what the actress is called in Commando, but he's following her and chatting her up and like really kind of creepy just before Arnold kind of gets him. But yeah, he's really he's an awful kind of person, isn't he? Like,
he really is. He was in 24. Was it 24 Hours? The Eddie Murphy.
Is that with? I know what you mean. Yeah, I've never seen it. I know the movie.
But I think he's in that. But yeah, I think especially when you see his character as well, and he's surrounded by all the idiots. It's weird because he's a good choice for it. But I think I picked up straight away that his character was being led, especially when they're in that arcade as well, and you see him with these high-tech explosives. You're thinking, right, this is sort of an organised crime thing going on. But no, I think as a bunch, they were just, they kind of worked and they kind of didn't. That Skank character, I just brought nothing to the table. I don't really understand why he was there.
Well, we'll certainly come to Skank, but the first one's Tintin. Not to be confused with Teesside Tintin. And he's the guy with all the knives, isn't he?
Well, yeah, so I think his name is Lawrence Mason, and believe it or not, I watched a film called Hackers with Johnny Lee Miller, and he is one of the gang, and he's really dweeby. So I think it was made the year after. So even in this, he's built up. In Hackers, he's like this dweeby nerd. So he certainly hasn't been pigeonholed. He literally went from being Tintin, built like that, to this wee dweeby thing in Hackers.
Oh, right. Okay. That's a deep cut. Well done.
Angelina Jolie. That's a classic. That Hackers. I couldn't believe he was in it though.
That's where she and Johnny Lee Miller met.
Yeah. That fateful day. Yeah. So yeah. She
moved on to. Well, I guess that's a fact. She moved on to Billy Bob Thornton after that.
Wow, she upgraded.
From pretend Scottishman to pretend not sleazy bastard. So
my blood.
Yeah, wear my blood around your neck.
Yeah, it's just gross.
Not known for my accents. There's like a knife fight. Bring a gun to a knife fight kind of job. And does he?
He steals his coat, doesn't he? So that's where he gets the actual coat. But because I think that's when you realise that he has got abilities and he can see through the crow's eyes. So when he's throwing the knives, you can obviously get a better idea of where he's going to throw it or something like that, because it shows you the sort of view from the crow's side of things. So
he notices that. He notices that he's sold the ring, doesn't he? He goes to the pawnbrokers.
So yeah, I remember the ring thing, and this will be, I don't know, it's not on IMDb, I know that for a fact, but apparently the whole ring thing came from something. It was, and you're saying it looked like Detroit. I think it was based in Detroit because the writer James O'Barr came from Detroit. And apparently in one of the news articles in a Detroit newspaper, he seen that a young couple were killed or murdered for a $20 engagement ring. So I think that's where that part of the story comes into it. Because in the actual beginning, when you see it all happening, there's no mention of a ring. There's no sort of doesn't look like they're stealing anything. So I was always curious as to why the engagement ring came into it, and it's basically because he'd read it in an article.
Okay. So that's us on 9. Good stuff.
Another factoid.
Now, this is one of my favourite bits because he goes to Gideon's. You've seen Gideon. You know Gideon out of a lot of stuff.
He's in a lot of stuff.
Gideon's in Miller's Crossing. He's brilliant. Have you seen Miller's Crossing?
Yeah.
He was
great.
He was a real favourite. John Polito, he's called. He's a real favourite of the Coens, and sadly dead. Now he died, and this is the thing. I said to Rachel, he only died last year, and I think she looked him up. She was like, "You do realise he died in 2016?" And I went, "What? No way!
What?
Yeah, he's been dead 4 years, over 4 years." I know, yeah. But he's brilliant. He's got this ratty little pencil drawn on moustache type thing, and real kind of like Italian American kind of greasy, awful character. Yeah. And then he lets him live so that he can tell the gang, but sets him on fire. There's nothing better in my eyes than a man on fire in a film. I love there's a couple of things I love. When somebody says the name of the movie in the movie, I love that.
Yeah.
When there's a guy quite blatantly in a big padded coat, kind of writhing around on fire. See every scene of the thing. That kind of stuff. But yeah, he fills the shotgun
for rings.
With rings.
Yep.
Now, look, I don't know anything about guns at all because I'm not American. Would that work?
So I think it's before that happens. Remember, he knocks over petrol onto a concrete floor. So I think if you shoot it and it was to spark off the floor, it would cause a fire.
But no, and I do realise that. But what I'm getting at is there shells in the? This is a Shaun of the Dead reference. Is there shells in the gun before he fires it?
So yeah, I think there's shells. There need to be shells. Yeah. I didn't even question that. I just thought, hang on a second, he's got saying that. No. Does he not cock the gun first? I'm sure he cocks it and then puts
Cock it. Shaun of the Dead reference. We'll have to do Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was really interesting. I did like that.
I think is it Giuliano Geldian, his name is. I can't remember the character's name, but yeah, I think it was a great. He comes into it later on and is quite upfront and quite funny, but yeah, he's a good actor.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. We've missed the bit that there's a bit where Ernie Hudson's getting a hot dog a little bit before, and Sarah comes along on a skateboard. That damn skateboard.
Do you know what? That
kid. Get off the skateboard, man.
That scene, and it's not necessarily the whole scene, just the scene where she's going up and she actually goes up to the hot dog stand. Now that hot dog stand, Max's dogs, looks like a health hazard on its own, but it's I don't know if you've noticed, but it's actually bolted to a condemned building. Literally just bolted it onto a condemned building, which made it look even worse.
That's brilliant. Do you want mustard with your roaches?
Luckily, I had the Blu-ray copy, so I could see the background, but it was definitely like a condemned derelict building.
Wow! Anyone that says you don't go the whole hog for this show by buying the Blu-ray,
had my glasses and everything on.
Rachel, my wife, she pointed out that it's this movie that taught her to put mustard under the hot dog.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that's right, because that's Ernie.
It's maybe not something I learned, but it's certainly something she learned. We're on 10, by the way. We're a tenth of the way there.
Well, I don't mind having onions, even though apparently they make you fart big time.
Did you? Well, yeah. Oh, you learned that as well, did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
We're on 11. But the onions are in this little tiny bowl, and he gets like a little teaspoon and puts them on the tiny bowl. You're like, how cold and slimy and awful are those? No thanks.
Right. I need fresh fried. They need to be fried to death in black.
They gotta be hot. And then some joyriders go by, and he's like, I'm off duty. You're like, what?
Yeah, let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, whatever. And I don't know where I've missed this. You're maybe going to have to drag me back to the bit this is. I'd made a note to say, I think it's maybe when he's fighting Tintin. He remembers that he's remembering stuff that him and Shelley did in the thing. And there's a chip pan fire at one point. Like,
yeah, and he just says restaurant.
Yeah, he says restaurant, but he puts the lid on it. And just for anybody that's listening at home, if you do have a chip pan fire, it's exactly what you do. You don't throw water on hot oil, hot fat, as we learned at school. There you go.
So, are we putting that down as a factoid? Then?
Absolutely, we are, mate. Yeah. So you don't throw water on a fat fire.
Get a lid on. Just get a lid on it.
You put a lid on it, or you put a damp tea towel over it, which cuts off the oxygen. It's a public service, this show.
Yeah. Oh God, it's all about health and safety right now. That's why we're warning you against going to eat Max's hot dogs.
That's right. While he's in Gideon's, I'm sorry, I've realised I've missed a few points here. While he's in Gideon's, he quotes. He uses
Edgar
a line.
Edgar Allan Poe.
It is. It's Edgar Allan Poe. It's the Raven.
The Raven. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That episode.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. You know what? It was such an iconic thing as well at the time, because I think the Raven was quite. Edgar Allan Poe was a big thing at the beginning of the 90s. There was a lot of Edgar Allan Poe stuff coming out, reworks and stuff. So I think that's probably why they nicked it and put it in there. But yeah, rapping on your time chamber door.
That's the one. I think it had hit the kind of the point where you no longer had to pay for it. So everybody, including Tim Burton, was like, "Oh, I'm Cookie. This is Cookie. Let's do something Cookie." All right,
yeah. So when he obviously does that, when he comes in and raps, apparently when he smashed that window, he apparently cut himself on the breakaway glass.
Did he?
Yeah. So, which I think was strange, because if you look at the film in context, he smashes it, goes in, sticks a knife through Gideon's hand. Yet apparently Brandon Lee cut himself that bad, and it was meant to be bleeding that badly. And then when you look at the film, you can see that Gideon's the one that's got the blood-soaked rag around his hand.
Right.
Which I thought was quite weird.
So you can cut yourself on breakaway glass?
Well, yeah, it wasn't meant to happen. I think it was just meant to be an accident. But yeah, he definitely cut himself on the breakaway glass. So yeah.
I was a little bit of a Poindexter here, and decided that bearing in mind The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe, and the movie's called The Crow. So I did a bit of Googling. A crow and a raven aren't the same creature. They're both carrion. They're both from the same family. But crows are smaller and ravens are bigger with a bigger beak.
I'm putting that down as a fact because I didn't know that. I thought they were the same.
You and me both.
Wow. Mind blown.
We're on 15.
Jesus, my mind is totally blown.
We're doing not bad. There you go. It's amazing the things you learn. Because all it was it prompted me just to think, hang on a second. The movie's called The Crow, not The Raven. So the next guy.
See, that's it's weird because in the film, he's when he's in Gideon's, he's going through the rings, so he's actually not looking at rings. He's just shutting his eyes and getting the memories from. So it's weird because you could see he can get memories from anything he touches, whether it be human, metal, or anything. But even though he's got that great ability, the thing that I found the best thing to have this superpower would be to see through the eyes of the crow, because I don't know about you, but back in the 80s there was a film called Beastmaster. Do you remember it?
I do.
But yeah, he had the ability, he had the psychic ability and could see everything his hawk could see. And as a young kid, I thought it was probably the best superpower in the world. It's not touching an animal. I just want to see. That's probably why I like droning.
Yeah.
So I can see everything in a bird's eye view.
Yeah, I know. It's fair enough, mate. So the next one's Fun Boy. Hey, Fun Boys, get a room. Michael Massey, what do we know him from?
So, you've missed a big, massive bit, I think. So
what have I missed?
I think there's a bit where T-Bird goes into a club called Trash and meets a character called, I think it's Gage, who just happens to be horror legend Tony Todd.
Tony Todd.
Tony Todd, the Candyman.
The sharpest suit.
Oh, he was
sharpest suit.
See,
himself.
When I seen that, when I seen him in this, I was raging because bear in mind, I think he had done Candyman and the remake of Night of the Living Dead, so I thought he was going to be like the horror master. And then when I seen this, I was quite annoyed because I thought he's just going to be a henchman, but actually had quite a big part in the film anyway. But Tony Todd, what a legend! But see when I forgot to say when I don't know if you noticed this, but when T-Bird walked into the club, there's pictures of all the bands that have played in the club, and the only picture he touched was Hangman's Joke. It was the only one he touched. So when I first seen the film, I actually thought that the gang members knew Eric Draven's character before they killed him. I thought it was but obviously turns out it didn't. But I thought it was just a bit weird how all the pictures he touched, he only touched that one.
Yeah, this bar's funny. Like Darla is
the pit.
Mum, and she works there.
Yeah, the pit.
And then she's off off duty,
off having fun with the boy.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, she's like some sort of real kind of hussy, isn't she? Some real kind of crackhead type character.
Yeah, she is like that. Yeah, it's a shame because you obviously feel for the Sarah character, considering that's met my mum, but her mum's just giving her money just to go away and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a bit.
In the I've missed loads of facts. Actually, we're gonna have to go back to those. But the when he goes he goes to confront Funboy, and he shoots him, and he's like when he shoots him in the hand, isn't he? He's screaming. And then he starts laughing, and I was like, "That's real proto-Joker stuff."
Yeah,
that really is. That's the kind of thing that you would expect. That was the first bit of the movie. I was kind of like, "That's some pretty fun acting. That's a pretty fun kind of, pretty fun kind of thing."
And that was the first CGI as well. There with the hand.
Oh right, okay.
CGI is best.
Yeah. Eric. He shoots Eric, and then he injects him. Is that right? Am I right?
Yeah. So that's in. So So he tells a joke. He gives the innkeeper 3 nails and says, "Can you put me up for the night?" So, which I thought was a really rubbish joke, but obviously it was a small enough joke. But yeah, he shoots him, and he drags him in. But I don't know if you noticed when he drags him into the bathroom, it's one of the brightest scenes in the film.
Oh, right, okay.
So if you look at it, it's one of the brightest, and I think it's either got to do with the fact that Darla's mum's in there and he forces her to look at herself in the mirror, because I think there's a really powerful sort of bit of monologue that says, "Mother's name for God on the lips and hearts of all children," and then obviously proceeds to get the morphine out of her. But I think the reason it's so well lit is because he obviously leads her to. I don't think it would have worked if it was really dark. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's probably why it was one of the brightest scenes in the film.
Okay. He then takes the morphine out of her and says, "Morphine's really bad for you," or something. Go back to your daughter, and I'm like,
"Yeah,
okay.
Your daughter's waiting." Yeah,
I'm like,
wasted money on that morphine.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly. What's the next scene?
So the next scene after that is basically the T-Bird. The biggest bit is the T-Bird's death scene, where him and Skank are looking for road beers.
Yeah. There's a bit before that though in the police station. I've made some notes. He's in the police station, kind of looking at all the details. The rest of the department thinks they're like, it's great news that they're all being killed.
Right. Yeah.
And Albrecht doesn't. Smoking on duty was okay in the 90s.
Yeah. I have that one. It was all the rage.
Yeah, smoking on duty is fine. But also, even if you're just a beat cop, you can also just simply take files home with you.
I think
acceptable.
Yeah, I think that's probably why he was demoted, because if throughout the film they're always making digs about why he was demoted from being a detective, because he kept poking his nose into other people's business. So I think that's probably why he was demoted to a beat cop.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So the next scene is Gideon and Top Dollar, and we like Top Dollar because he's out of Robin Hood, isn't he?
Yes, he really is. That voice, unmistakable voice. I can't remember this character's name in Prince of Thieves, but yeah, he's right in there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to cut his heart out with a spoon.
With a spoon, yeah.
Why a spoon, dear cousin? Because it's dull, you idiot. It'll hurt more.
Oh God, Alan Rickman, what a legend!
R.I.P. Yeah,
what a legend.
But yeah, I think Wincott, British, of course, been in everything, hasn't he? Been in loads of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
he's been kind of pigeonholed, to be honest. I think he's always a baddie, isn't he?
English and in Hollywood. Yeah, that's the standard, though, isn't it?
Julian Sands all over again.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So he stabs Gideon, kills Gideon with a sword. All of a sudden, we're onto swords in the movie.
Yeah, they've got a katana, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh no, he doesn't know. He's got like a old school fencing sword, isn't it? The katana.
Yeah, he's got quite a few swords.
Yeah, he's got a collection.
And then and I couldn't quite figure out, was she called Micah or Mika?
Micah.
Yeah, and that's Bai Ling. You'll have seen her in loads of stuff. If you've seen any 90s kind of Hong Kong type movies.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Dumplings?
No.
Dumplings is basically she makes dumpling, like as in Chinese food dumplings.
Oh right, so I thought you meant that. I've seen the other one, dumplings.
No, she makes dumplings, and they make women young. They give women young. They keep them young, and the twist is that she's making it out of aborted fetuses. It's really grim. Yeah, it is bleak as you like, but it's quite a good movie. But yeah, she's crazy in that. I think I remember her from. Is she in one of the Crank movies as well? Yeah,
that's where I remember her from.
Yeah, she's proper kind of like comedy action type star.
Yeah.
It says here something about being his lover and half sister.
Half sister. One of the greatest things I learned from my sister. I remember that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's like she's your sister. Yeah. I was like, hey, that's not right.
Yeah. So T-Bird and Skank, as you say, they're going for some. What did you call them? Car beers?
No, road beers. Some smokes and road beers.
Smokes and road beers. I'm going to put that down as a fact because I didn't know there was such a thing as road beers.
Yeah, it turns out it's a thing. But yeah, he goes in and Brandon's sitting in the back, just waiting.
One of the worst car chases I've ever seen.
So one of the exactly. It was. I don't understand why he got the cops' attention when he could have just sort of slowed down. Instead, he just wound them up.
It was like, and the crash at the end is kind of like a Hollyoaks car crash. Really
exactly. I thought in between us, that little car, if it was yellow, it would have been the in between us car. It was like a panda, wasn't it? But that death scene, the T-Bird death scenes, maybe is classed as one of the sort of greatest at that time death scenes, because I think it's more to do with the music as well. It's quite a poignant thing, especially as an arsonist has gone up in flames. It's got a lovely
yeah. Oh yeah, that is quite clever. Yeah. And at that point, they're back at the he's Albrecht's back at the hot dog stand. Like the guy's always at the hot dog stand.
Yep, I love the hot dog.
And you notice that they've got a jar of pickled eggs. I didn't know pickled eggs were an American thing as well.
Well, I didn't realise it was because it looked green. I thought they were green.
Pickled eggs is an American thing, so I made a note of that. I thought I'll get that one.
Yeah, because it's in Simpsons.
Oh, of course it is. Yeah,
they're always in there with the black egg.
And then he jumps in the car with his coffee without putting a lid on it. I mean, look, mate, we've all had a coffee in the car, like, you know.
Yeah, but safety first.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the bit where I think it's the next morning. So I never got this. It was kind of like it's a year later, and all this is happening on Mischief Night or Devil's Night or whatever. Yep. But then it's the next morning. But then later on in the movie, it's kind of like, yes, and it's 1 year ago. And you're like, whoa, steady on. Is it a year ago or is it a year and a day ago, mate? Come on.
Yeah, make up your mind. Yeah.
I know, yeah.
The thing, I know that whole scene, because I think there was a scene where he was in the police station, wasn't it? Yeah. And what they were doing, they were showing him pictures of this body fused to this car, and he straight away he's like, "Oh, T-Bird." He's like, "Hang on a second, how do you know?" Because he's literally just says, "It's the body's unrecognisable. We're going to ID him with his teeth." Yet he's, that's T-Bird. Like, how do you know? How do you know this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Darla tries to make a breakfast for Sarah. She says, "I don't like sausages" or something. Really weird.
I don't like eggs.
That's it. I don't like eggs. Who doesn't like eggs?
I liked them when I was 9. Who doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. And then we go back to the
is it the apartment one?
PD. No, we go back to the police department, and that detective guy who looked a little bit like Robert Davi in Die Hard. You know, the kind of the.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking about the sort of pokey face.
Yeah. And he's like, "You're suspended for misconduct because the chief said." You're kind of like, "What? Hang on a second." And then the chief comes in and goes, "Yeah, you're suspended." And I'm like, "Oh, mate, you tell him. Don't let some boy from the detectives tell you."
Exactly. What right is he got? He's no HR. He's no HR.
Yeah, exactly. We had got to.
Hang on. The
wrung out by the guy. So
department.
Yeah, so the grease department. Sarah goes to Eric's apartment. And the funny thing with this place is not the apartment as such, but the whole town is that it's kind of like it's Halloween now, and they make the point that like now's Halloween, and kind of you see like a group of kids really scarily dressed, kind of like masks and all this kind of thing. There was no sexy cats in the 90s, were there? At Halloween,
certainly not.
There wasn't, like kind of nurses or anything. It was just horrific, scary kind of.
Scariness.
Yeah, scary faces, and I was like, "Oh, this is awful." So
is this when she goes back and sees him? Goes to actually see that it's him.
Yeah.
Because you don't actually see him. Because I think when you see him, I think it's a double, because when he's standing at the window, the sun comes through, and you never get to see his face. So that's definitely
see the back of him, and I made the note. This is another instance of proof you can put a wig on anyone when your star isn't available.
Pretty much, yeah.
See also those Hobbit movies and Harry Potter.
Get yourself a smaller person. Well, do you know, they actually had a mask. So they had. So I think the decision was they had a prosthetic mask of him, but no one wanted to act beside it because it's too freaky.
Yeah, I also heard that. So that's a little factoid I've put down there. So we're getting there, mate. We're on 22. I have a feeling we're not going to get 100.
Probably not the best time we start with now.
No, because absolutely nothing happens in this movie.
But it's the background to the story though, because I didn't like the guy that did the original comic, the James O'Barr. He decided to do it to try and relieve the anger that he had because his girlfriend his fiancée was killed. She was killed by a drunk driver or something. So I think that's why it's quite dark. Because I think one of the interviews pretty much just says that with every page, he just felt as if he was just spewing this bile. So it was a real hate project for him. Jesus.
Yeah, that's bad. I missed loads of what I consider fun stuff, but our listeners may not agree. Yeah, I pointed out earlier on, detectives can suspend beat cops now.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, the apartment block. As she goes into the apartment block and he's there, it's like the apartment in Home Alone 2. You know, I'm expecting her to put some paint cans on a bit of rope.
Yeah,
and
it's
way down the stairs.
yeah, it's really sort of got that sort of feel to it, the whole thing,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
You guys had enough, or do you want some more? You're hungry for
Wow.
more. And the point I made was, it looks like when they're on the rooftop, it looks like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. You know that first Turtles movie from 1991.
No, The Secret of the Ooze. Pre-Secret of the Ooze.
Yeah, the very first one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I thought, oh, it looks like it. But then at the end of the movie, I was kind of like, yeah, I just want to have a look at a few bits and pieces about the characters. And I actually saw a bit that says that they used the same set or the same part of a city as the Turtles movie, and as something else. But like an idiot, I didn't make a note of it. So there you go. There's another factoid.
Just get that jotted down.
Movie,
Yeah,
because it
one.
is the Turtles movie. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then she says, "I remember your song. It can't rain all the time." Well, she's obviously never been to Glasgow, has she?
Yeah, I don't know. I know. We've got it can rain all the time.
Yeah. Don't we know that? So we move on from that bit. Do we move on from that bit? You're going to have to help me here. I'm really struggling to keep track of this bad movie.
So I think there's the next scene though back in the nightclub.
Oh, yeah. And I'd said that this nightclub,
Trash.
it looks like the place that Catwoman and Penguin meet in Batman Returns.
Yeah. It's got that vibe about it, that whole Metalworks vibe, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's
bad. The whole gang's there. And to be honest, I actually thought that this was a bit... So this is obviously a bit where they're trying to protect Skank and they're all just sitting around. So I suspected that this was where he bit the bullet. I hate to say that, it's a horrible expression actually, when he got, because there was so many shots fired, I thought it must have been that scene.
Oh, right, yeah.
But apparently it wasn't. It was a scene with Funboy.
Oh, right, okay.
So that scene was never meant to be in this. It was never scripted, and it was put in last minute by the director. So he must feel like an absolute shit. So yeah, that's where that happened.
And there's loads of bullets in this bit, isn't there? Actually, quite a good little kind of gunfight.
Yep. And that's the only time you see any sort of martial art, but it's only sort of a self-defensive sort of martial art, not like a kung fu. But yeah, I like that bit. So some good sequences in it.
You could argue that he's wasted in this, couldn't you?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So then Eric's the only one left. The police turn up. He gets away.
So did you notice that? So he throws Funboy out. He throws Skank out the window, but then when the police come in and says "move or we shoot," he puts his hands up. But then he does like a sort of dance to the side. Did you notice?
Oh, I did.
He actually does like a sort of sidestep dance to the side, and then just disappears and jumps out the window.
Nice. They then discover that it's the crow that's keeping him from being killed. Which
so, just before you go on that, I don't know if it's just me. There's a couple of things that I picked up from a movie, and it's annoying me because there's a lot of things, a lot of references I hear through noise. A couple of things I picked up with this movie is one of them was at the shooting scene. So at the shooting scene, they throw someone out a window. That no one bats an eyelid, but then a second person goes through the window and the music in the club stops, and then there's music in the background. That music to me sounds like the music from the Terminator movie at the end when Sarah's being chased by the actual Terminator monster through that factory. It's got that sort of metallic vibe. No. That doom, doom, doom. Like it's like yeah, and another little thing I picked up as well. I'm going to go back here because this annoyed me for ages. But at the pawn shop, when Gideon's pawn shop goes on fire, and Eric meets Officer Albright for the first time, they have a conversation, and then he's distracted, and Eric disappears. When he disappears, there's a little laugh. That little laugh, I'm sure, is the same sort of laugh that's in Escape from New York.
All
When
right.
Nate Plissken meets a character called Romero, he's got the sort of blonde hair and he gets the tape from him. But there's a little laugh in that that's exactly the same. I
Do
don't
you
I
think
know.
it's a
It could be. I think these could be just little references, a wee sort of nods. I'm hoping so because as soon as I hear them and see them, I'm all over them.
So we then get to the bit where he's looking for the last of them. Also, one point I've got to make is Eric is the least goth name ever. Eric isn't a very goth name. Eric is kind of like a Beano character.
Yeah, may as well just call him Bernard. Why don't you just call him Bernard and get it over and done with?
Bernard Black was always a bit gothy. So they go to the cemetery. Sarah meets him at the grave.
A couple of things with that there. So first of all, before that happens, I think there's a little nod to Brandon Lee because, as you say, the kids run by him, and there's a really slow-mo shot where the kids are run by with torches and illuminate his face, and it just sort of slows down to that part. So I think that's a little nod to Brandon Lee.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and when he gets to that part, Sarah comes and meets up with him. So that bit infuriates me as well because when they have that conversation and she leaves, Grange kidnapped her straight away. How the hell does he know that she's anything to do with Eric Draven? I mean, really? Where did that come from?
That's a really good point, actually. I can't. I mean, it was Saturday night. I watched it. Were
you drinking?
Maybe had a couple of brew dogs. So they go up into the church, which is Batman, isn't it? It's
the
like
most gothic church you've ever seen in your life. Yeah, they've literally just.
Tim Burton's like, wait a minute.
Did they take my step? Because it does. It just looks like the 1989 Batman.
It does.
It really does.
It does. I made a point, and I can't seem. I don't know who it is, so you're going to have to remind me. But the point, the thing I'd written down was they killed the villain like he was in The Birds. Who gets killed and there's loads of birds around him?
No, it's not the bird. So I get that as well. So Micah gets pecked in the eyes by the bird. But to me, it wasn't the birds. It was more reminiscent of Omen 2. So in Omen 2, one of the characters gets blinded by a crow or a raven, we don't know, and then walks in front of a truck. So I think that's maybe a nod to that because she came to the same end.
Is it really a nod to all these things, or is the director just a hack?
Maybe just a hack stealing stuff.
Well, we'll come to him in a minute. So the crow gets him.
They have the sword fight with the.
Oh yeah.
The is it the weather vane?
Yeah, like a rubbish Highlander.
It really was. I was expecting lightning at any point, but there was actually none.
So they go up the spiral staircase. Mika grabs the crow.
Yep. She grabs a crow. Because there's a big shootout with Tony Todd. As well, isn't there? I keep calling Tony Todd. I should call him.
No, that's fine. I'm calling these people.
So there's that scene with Tony Todd. She grabs a crow, runs up. I think Sarah's up in the belfry, and then I think Big Dollar goes up and takes her away while Micah, I think it's Micah. She.
That's where she falls.
Yeah, so she's ready to shoot Eric Draven and then pisses the crow off.
Yeah. So then up on the roof, she's holding on to like this really wet roof. She's
Yeah, that kid.
what? It's like Spider-Man, go web.
Yeah. That's never going to happen.
No, absolutely. Something like I'm gonna miss you when I kill you, something like that. It's really stupid.
Yeah, it's not the best. I think the monologue at the end, especially when he's saying my daddy always said and all that sort of thing, I think some of them are just like, do you know what, just stop. Just stop saying these things now.
And then he falls off the roof backwards, which looks like the Shredder in that Turtles movie as he's falling through the air from that building.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say Hans Gruber, but you don't see Hans Gruber's legs.
No, you don't. No, you don't. And then he lands on that gargoyle, which made me think of the original The Omen.
Where
the weather vane lands. Is it a weather vane lands on him?
I think so. But yeah. Is that?
Am I conflating it with the bit out of
is that Patrick Troughton?
Yes, it is Patrick Troughton. Kirsty, your fiance will be delighted. You've referenced some Doctor Who.
Yeah, I had to get that in there.
Perhaps I'm conflating that with the bit from the end of Hot Fuzz, where James Bond slips on the Summerfield van and lands through the jaw.
That's so gross. Yes,
hearts.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
That is pretty rotten. That is pretty
rotten.
Great movie, by the way.
It really is.
Really good movie.
We'll get 100 out of that.
Oh, 200. So Eric grabs Sarah, and like he needs to. She's absolutely fine.
And then just gives Albright a cigarette, who decides to stop smoking at that very moment. You're like, whoa.
But he does tell him at the beginning, these things will kill you. And I'm like, not like a bullet will.
No, he should know. Yeah, and then buggers off.
Yeah. So he vanishes, goes to the grave.
Minus makeup, he's not the white one.
Yeah.
Notice that it was all white.
Yeah, and then they kind of skip off the highway to heaven. And then... Yeah, then Sarah goes to the grave. It's closed up once again. So, and the crow's there
with the ring.
With the ring, yeah, that's right. Drops it in Sarah's hand, and Sarah says, "Buildings burn, people die, real love is forever." Which is one of those sickening lines that in early days of the internet I remember being everywhere. Kind of like true 98, 99 kind of
but there's going to be
seek Lycos message board.
There's going to be a revival. Everybody likes retro. There's going to be a revival soon. They're not going to come back.
How has this utter dog shit not been remade? Is my query. I think it's a bit of a trope now, though, isn't it? It's bad. The film closes with the words for Brandon and Eliza, and she was his partner. I think she was an actor as well. Rachel was saying, she's a bit of looking up. She was an actor as well. And the movie ends with possibly the worst music on any soundtrack. It's real kind of like everything except for that Cure song is like ga-gang, 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 ga-gang.
Yeah.
Like the beginning of the "You wouldn't steal a car." You wouldn't steal it. Like that. A bit of
a bike.
Yeah.
You wouldn't steal a helicopter.
Yeah. You wouldn't download a car. What? Hang on, that doesn't work. The internet the internet's in its infancy. It's 1994. And I love credits anyway. I'll always watch the credits. The thing and something that I learned here was there's such a job as a crow wrangler.
What?
Crow wrangler was
apparently one of the crows went on to star in the other films. I can't remember the name of the crow's name.
Oh, well, so one of the crows went to star in the other films. That's another fact. But I learnt when I went to CEX that there are 3 further films. Or 2 further films and a TV series. Because I initially picked up The Crow 3, I don't know, As the Crow Flies or something.
Crow West. Crow West.
But that had Mary Jane out of Spider-Man. Who's Mary Jane in Spider? Kirsten Dunst is in that.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, that and obviously Melancholia, but that's a different story. Yes, because I picked up the second or the third one and took it to the counter, and as the young man was kind of ringing it up, I just saw in the corner of one of the stickers it said like Crow Salvation or something, Terminator Crow Salvation, and I was like, oh, this isn't the movie I want actually. And he went, I said, I want The Crow. And he said, okay, I'll have a look, see if it's on the system. So he looked on the system and he went, oh, yeah, we've got 2 copies. I said, all right. He says, it's under C. I said, well, it should be. He says, I'll go and get it for you. So I stood there with this kind of queue of spotty, sweaty, greasy-faced, greasy head. You know, like
to sell their wares.
The kid on The Simpsons. You're so greasy.
You're so greasy. The burger joint.
Like all looking really, really angry at me. And then he came back with it, and he said, "Is this the one you wanted?" And I was like, "I say I wanted it." My friend and I are doing a podcast. I'm watching it for that. And he went, "Okay. Well, you'll want this one as well, won't you?" I said, "Mate, I don't even want this one."
How many dare you, sir?
Yeah.
Dark times.
So I learned there was a
Crow Wrangler.
So Crow Wrangler. So you're telling me that the Crow is in the other films?
So one of them, one of the crows went on to star in the other film. I can't remember the name of my heart. It was like Star or Willow or something. Come on, Frederick. Come on.
Willow as well. I wonder if it's one of the long line of crows that have always been acting in Hollywood, like the one in It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh God!
The original "It's a Wonderful Life" movie, for like, it's my great grandpa was in "It's a Wonderful Life" with Jimmy Stewart. I'm from 50 generations of crow actors.
I'm 54th generation Raven.
My great grandma always used to tell stories of her great grandfather, saying, "Jimmy Stewart was like a father to me." Wah, wah. Enough bad Jimmy Stewart impressions.
My uncle starred in Dumbo.
Yeah, my uncle was a racist. We have since exorcised him from the family. We no longer talk about racist Uncle Jeff. Goodness. Shelley Webster. The character's called Shelley Webster.
Yep, Shelley Webster.
Are Shelley and Webster not 2 Barbie dolls? Were they not like the little Barbie kids? I'm sure they were called Webster. I'm sure they were. The director's Alex Proyas. Now, this guy makes shit. This guy makes utter garbage.
I can't think. Well, I think he made the most recent one. I think he made was something Gods of
Egypt.
Is that it?
That's rotten.
I've never seen it. I'm not into biblical things anymore. I used to, after Ben Hur, I'm off it.
I liked Ben, but I didn't like her. That joke's older than you, John.
I know that is. That was written on the bloody 10 Commandments.
on a stone tablet. So Alex Proyas, one movie that he did direct, which is very, very good, is Dark City.
Yes. Yeah. And you can see influences of that.
Absolutely.
On this. Especially as you say, with the rooftop scenes, especially the beginning, a lot of the rooftop stuff was, even the Matrix, I think they took a lot from Dark City. So Dark City was...
both filmed in Australia. Both filmed the same year, I think, on the same set. I'm sure they were. I'm sure that's... Dark City and the Matrix, I think, were released maybe a year apart. Right. They were filmed on the same thing. I, Robot. The guy directed I, Robot.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that. That's just like that's a machine that just wants you to buy Converse, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
Get yourself an Audi.
Yeah.
Product placement, left, right, and centre.
2009, Knowing.
Oh,
did you see that?
Yeah, that's when Nicolas Cage was bombing, and I remember the film itself was
Yeah, Rose Byrne.
No one.
And other than that, a bunch of Sting music videos.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of his early stuff. Looks as if he used to do a lot of music videos. Maybe I should have stuck to that.
Get it, yeah. Get in the bin, mate. Is what you're doing. Yeah. So, I made a note of who was in it. We've talked about all those. Yeah, I did. I hated it. I hated the credits. Pure, Stone Temple Pilots, Nine Inch Nails covering Joy Division, one of my favourite bands. Rage Against, Jesus and Mary Chain, Henry Rollins Band, Pantera. So 94 must have been the last time anyone had ever mentioned.
I thought Henry Rollins was actually in the film. See the guy that that Skank crashes into, and he's like, when he got out of the car from his side, I actually thought that was Henry Rollins. It just looked like him. Yeah, to be honest, I need to look, but it's certainly
wow. Okay. Anything to add?
No. I think we've done that.
Oh, by the way, that crow's dead. The crow actor is long dead. I'm always keen to point out that animal actors removed. No, that's not. I'm not going to. I'm like, well, I guess it is. I'll make a note of that because let's just be honest, John. It's not going to make much difference.
No.
So we were looking to get 100 things that we learned from The Crow.
It's a first attempt. At the end of the day, it probably wasn't the best film to start with, but it's a start. It's a start. It's a film I've not watched in years. It's a film you've not seen.
Do you want to hazard a guess as to how many things I've got written down here? Between us.
39?
28.
And that's including mines, the changing gun laws, shot in black and white.
Yeah, oh, man. That's including people that are in Miller's Crossing. Yeah, it's not great. But you know, I don't know about you. I've enjoyed it.
Every expected the film. That was the point.
We'll certainly do it again. There's some editing to do. There's some work to do on it, and we'll see how we get on. We'll have a chat about another one coming up. See if we can refine the process a little bit, and hopefully people at home have enjoyed it. Give us a bit of feedback, if you can, if that's possible. From this, but also, you know, let us know what you think.
Yep, definitely. But no, I look forward to the next one. That was rather enjoyable, even though you hated the film.
Well, yeah. Look, I mean, my life is littered with films that I've hated. So you know, it is what it is.
I won't take it to heart.
Well, I'll pick the next movie and you can slag that.
Sounds good. I can do that.
Okay. So I've been Mark Plant.
And I've been John Watson.
Thank you for listening to 28 things we've learned about The Crow. See you again.